Hey guys, thanks for attending the webinar. I just started recording, so just wanted to make sure you guys could all hear this now. We are going to be doing a live demo of AppPresser 3 today, show you the new app builder, all the new features, the great new app files, and everything that's included with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and start sharing my screen so that we can show it to you. So if you guys have any questions or anything, go ahead and maybe wait a little bit until we get to the Q&A session. You can post them in the chat. John's going to kind of keep track of them, but if you post them too early, they may kind of get lost in the shuffle. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the AppPresser, My AppPresser dashboard. Now, again, this is still a little bit in beta, so some things might change, but essentially what you have here is a place to keep track of all of your different app projects. We can add a new app and go ahead and have multiple projects. You are going to be able to keep track of however many apps you're able to create based on your license. You'll be able to keep track of those here. When you click into an app, you have a dashboard that's going to allow you to customize the different settings of your app, the colors, and all those different types of things. So here on this initial screen, we are able to customize our app, which is the visual app builder. I'll get to that in a minute. We're able to set up push notifications, send push notifications, and again, push notifications are included with AppPresser 3. You are also able to set up your ads. You're able to download your build zip file, see some error logs, and get some help. And any other features that we add will also be added here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the visual app builder. This is the coolest part of AppPresser 3, besides the actual apps being really fast and awesome themselves. So we're basically using the WordPress visual customizer here for this. It's a great interface, and it actually works great for building apps as well. So once you create an app, you'll have your app here that you can check out, and this is actually a live preview of the app. Everything works very similar to the way it's going to work in your device. So when you make changes, you can actually see them here. So you'll see here we have, an intro slide, and we're able to kind of click through the app and see different things. So one thing you'll notice is this is one of the new features we have is an API-driven list. I'll get to that in a little bit, but we have these really nice page transitions which are updated based on the platform you're on. So here you'll see we kind of have these Android style transitions. That's because I'm using Chrome. But when you're on an iOS device, you're going to see both the menu and the page transitions and everything are convert into iOS style. Let's see. So I'll show you some of these pages. As you can see in the live demo, we can click around in our app. We can see pretty much everything that's going on here. And as we make edits to it, it's actually live. So it's really nice to be able to make these changes and just kind of see them live on your screen. Let me get into some of the settings here. First of all, it's really easy to change the colors. So, you just have a color picker here, and you can change a lot of the colors that are in the app. For example, like if we look at the left menu background, you can make a change and you can actually see it happening live. And not only does this update in the preview, but if we were to save this and click the Go Live button, this would actually push to an app that you had already published to the app stores. So you can change menu items and colors and things to apps that are already live without having to resubmit, which is the same way that AppPresser has worked before, but it's really, really nice. Another really cool feature is we can actually change we can actually use custom CSS for anything that is not actually in a color picker, or if you just want more fine-grained control. So for example, if I were to do, let's see, I can open up a web inspector, and this is a little bit more advanced, but if I can open a web inspector and actually make live edits. So here if I go, let's see. You'll see that it actually inserts the CSS live, and so you can see it while you're actually, making the app itself. You can make these changes and you can see them live, and it's a really cool workflow if you are, someone who can write their own custom CSS. So that's a bit of more of an advanced feature, but it's really, really handy. And we have color pickers for, if you don't want to write custom code. So let me show you some of the other features here. One of the great things that we have is a really nice menu system. And so what we can do is actually, we're using the WordPress menu system here. And let me just make sure I'm on the right menu. I think it's this one. Yeah. So you can create multiple menus. You can add different links to those menus. For example, if I wanted to add one of the custom pages I made, I can do that here. And I can also add a link to my website, whether that's an external website through the in-app browser or it's actually a WordPress page. So I'm going to get to the different page types in a minute. So I won't go to that right now, but it's a great menu system. You can order items and everything like that. And then you see them show up here. What we can also do is change the tab menu, add a tab menu. So if I change my app menu to tabs and I save that, and I have to refresh that one more time. Of course, it's a live demo, so something's going to go wrong. Chrome has some really aggressive caching that we're still kind of working on breaking that in the preview. So, okay, I'll have to show you that later, but it's got a really cool tabs menu. Let's see. One of the best features that we have are adding in AppPresser 3 are these custom pages. So what you used to do before is if you wanted to have offline pages or like an API-driven list or anything other than a WordPress page, it was very difficult to get those into the app. So now we have a custom page builder for you. So like I'll give you an example. Like this map is just a Google Maps embed code, and we can also create static HTML pages that work great offline, and they're really, really fast. So for example, if I wanted to add an about page, but about us, and then I can add basically any type of content that I want here in this builder. So I could say, like, but meet our team. And then I could put, like Fred, and he's a cool guy. And, Sally, she's great. Things like that, right? So let me just put some tags around these so it'll display nice. And then when we create that, this is going to be a fully offline static page. So, you don't need an internet connection, and you can, the page will display really, really quickly. So let me just add that to our app so that you guys can see it. Once we've created a page, we have to actually go into the menu and add it so that it will show up in the app. I'm going to find the about page that I just added, add it to our menu and save. Then I'm going to go ahead and rebuild my app. Now I'll get into the details about this build page, but essentially you can click this and it will compile it for your device. And it'll also put together our different pages that we have here. And let's see, make sure that my app menu is set. And I'm going to try breaking the cache again here. Let's see. Of course, it's a live demo, so it's not going to work. Let's see. Let me switch over to this side over here. So we're still kind of like pushing code and fixes and stuff, and so I think one of the most recent pushes I've had an issue. But essentially, your about page can look something like this, and this is, you know, just a static page. It's going to work offline. You can make it look however you want. This is just kind of a real simple example, but that's kind of how it's going to turn out. And again, like the intro page with the slider, this is all, you know, offline, works great, super fast. So it's really easy to add these offline pages and these fast pages kind of right next to your WordPress pages. And without getting super technical, I do want to kind of describe why the apps are so much better and faster now. So AppPresser is, so we're basing everything on Ionic 2 now, which is just this awesome hybrid mobile app framework. And essentially what's happening is we're embedding most of the files that display your app are going to be on your device now. And the only time we actually go to WordPress is to go get your actual WordPress pages that you want to display. But if your WordPress content isn't available or the internet connection is not there, you're still going to be able to see like the header, the menu, all of the offline pages that you've created, things like that. So it's a really, really smooth experience, even if you have a slow internet connection or you have no internet connection at all. The app still works great and you can still see the content in your app that it does not require an online connection. So without getting too technical, it just basically makes things really, really fast, and we are able to then display your WordPress content faster and, you know, have really nice page transitions and make sure that the app loads quickly and everything like that. So another cool thing I'll show you about these custom pages is that you can actually add Ionic tags. So like the way that we're displaying the slider is with the Ion Slides tag. And I won't go too deep into this. If code scares you, you know, don't worry about this. This is all optional, but essentially you can add a whole bunch of really cool stuff here. And a lot of it is just kind of copy and paste. Later on, we're also going to add, you know, page templates where you don't have to be writing any code or anything. But this way you can kind of just add anything you want. Another great feature that we have are actually API-driven list pages, and I'll show you how that works. So essentially, an API list is something that's it's like a list of content that's pulling from your WordPress site, but all we're doing is going and fetching data, and so it's kind of technical, but basically it's a really great way to have a really fast native experience where the content is cached and it works great even if you go offline when you're viewing it, and we can just do lots of really, really cool things. So the way that I do that is you can actually add an endpoint to any WP API URL. So JSON. And again, if you're not familiar with this, that's okay. You know, don't worry about it. There's lots of other great ways we can display lists as well, but this is just kind of a cool new feature. And we can create that page, and then that'll display an API-driven list in our site. So if you remember the previous demo where I was showing like the schedule and the speakers and everything, those are all WP API-driven lists. And of course, we have the normal WordPress pages like we used to have. Those are still very much available, and you can use those. And so I'll give you an example of that. Like if we wanted to add a buddypress activity feed, I can actually just add the full URL to my buddypress activity feed and put that in here. Add that to my menu, and then that will go ahead and display my buddypress activity page. And I can add an icon class, and I have a few other options as well that we'll get into a little bit later. But essentially, let me show you my page on, let's see, if I click this, you'll see that then we have this buddypress activity feed, and you know, I can post into buddypress. If I was on a device, I could use the photo, things like that. Another thing I can do is, you know, we still have all the great plugin integrations like with WooCommerce. So if I wanted to display my WooCommerce shop, I could do that by doing this and put in an icon class and save that. And then you'll see I can go to shop and I can see my WooCommerce products. People can go in there and purchase them and upload a video or upload a photo of their item. just like they could before. And this is all made possible through our AppPresser extensions. So let me do a brief overview of that again. If you're not familiar with the way AppPresser works, essentially on your WordPress site, you go and install some plugins, whichever ones that you need. You know, for example, we have a buddypress integration, camera integration, we have a core plugin, push notifications, things like that. So you install those. You also install our new theme that we have, which is called the Ion AP3 theme, which is essentially just a modified version of our existing Ion theme to work with AppPresser 3. And you know, you configure some settings. There's actually less settings to configure now than there were before. You put in your site slug and app ID, things like that, and configure some of the settings. These are pretty much the same as they were before, with the exception of a couple of different things. But then basically that allows you to integrate with WooCommerce and BuddyPress. You can show, you know, a page with a gravity form. Basically most plugin integrations are going to work pretty well. And we've actually made some improvements with AppPresser 3 to where there's going to be less plugin conflicts, and it should be easier to display, you know, custom plugin content. One thing to note is that you can't use custom themes with AppPresser 3. You must use our theme. If you need to customize it, you can either customize it through custom CSS here in the app builder, or you can actually use a child theme. Now, the only time that the WordPress content is displayed is on a WordPress specific page, like this BuddyPress activity page. Other pages, like for example this intro page, this does not have anything to do with WordPress. It is completely static and you know, does not connect to WordPress at all. So of course your theme wouldn't have anything to do with that page. So this is a much better way to be displaying WordPress content. It's faster. It gives you a lot more options. It's going to be, I think, just a pleasure to use. I'll quickly go over the settings tab. So you can choose a tab menu or an app menu. You can enable push notifications and do some different things, configure some different settings in your app. Here you'll see the tab menu that we have. Tab menu is great because it's all these views are cached and it's really, really fast, and it's just a great way to do tabs. So, for example, you see me going back and forth. These are all cached. It really works great. So here you have some settings for your app. It's not important for me to go over these now. You can add custom icons and splash screens, and then you can compile your app. So let me show you how actually building your app works. So we used to have you upload your files, your zip file to PhoneGap Build, and now we have an integration where if you add your PhoneGap Build auth token, which is just something you get out of your account page, then it will automatically integrate with PhoneGap Build, and it will actually send the app back and forth, and it'll compile it for you. You don't even have to go to PhoneGap Build at all. So when I click Build App, if I have my auth token here, it will actually send that to PhoneGap Build, compile it, and then pull back a QR code where you can just scan the QR code and get the app on your device. It's really, really cool, really fast, really easy. It's a much easier build process. And this is the same way that it works if you're going to build for the App Store. Then you can be automatically sending it to PhoneGap Build to compile for the App Store as well. So that is the app customizer. You have a lot of control over customization and the types of pages you want to display in the app. Like this page you see on the home page here is a custom page. You can change the styling, the way that this looks. This is, you know, you're not restrained to any type of look for your pages on your app. You can customize those as much as you want. Let me go back real quick to the just settings page here. The way that we're doing push notifications now is really, really cool. It's again, it comes with your account, and you don't have to pay anything extra for push notifications. There are going to be some limits. You know, we can't have people sending millions and millions of pushes for free, but for most people, you won't need to be paying anything. And it's all API based. So you can actually send notifications through the My AppPresser dashboard. You can send them through WordPress. You can send them from somewhere else, like pretty much anywhere. You just send an API request. And, you know, if you're not a developer, your developer can help you with that. But basically, it's really, really flexible. And it's a lot easier to use. You don't have to go to a third-party provider and, you know, set things up. You just do it all in the My AppPresser dashboard. So that is pretty much the all the new stuff. And you know, you have this dashboard. When you create a new app, you know, it's going to then show up on your My AppPresser dashboard. So here it takes me to my customized screen. But if I go back, then I have, you know, 2 apps here. So this is going to be a great way to keep track of multiple projects. So as far as the plugins and theme and extensions, you know, those are largely the same. There are going to be some updates to those, but you still go install those on your WordPress site, and you get those with your license. And there's a few settings to configure, but that's most of it. So I think at this point, I'd like to kind of open it up to some questions and see if there's certain things you guys want, you know, more of a demo of. I'd be happy to show you.
Scott, I can jump in here, and I've been keeping track of the questions in the chat room. So how about if I feed you a couple, and then you can, so if you want to just continue to share your screen.
Okay.
There's a couple of things that some people would like to see if you have something to show them, and then we could just rattle off. There's a fair amount of questions, so get ready. Here we go.
Okay, great.
So the first 2 things that people wanted to see some demos of was, one, if you could show any of the new things with WooCommerce integration. I didn't know if there was anything specific you had to show around that.
Okay, so there's not a whole lot of new stuff around the WooCommerce integration. It still uses our AppWoo plugin, and so I'll show you. Let me add the shop page here. I didn't. Oh, so I added the shop page here. So this is the same as it was before, and essentially you have integration with all of your WooCommerce products. People can view those in the app. They can purchase products in the app, and you are able to customize the way that this looks, and pretty much anything about this you can customize. So the great part about this now is that these pages are going to be easier to display in your app. It's going to be faster. They have nice page transitions. But the functionality itself is the same as it was before, which is full WooCommerce integration.
Excellent. And then the next one is probably along the same lines here, but can you show any new things with regards to AppBuddy?
So AppBuddy, it's the same thing. It's basically the same type of integration, which is full integration. So again, the pages are going to have nice page transitions. You know, it's going to display in a much nicer way in your app. But the way that it looks, the way that it works is pretty much the same. And so you're able to customize it fully. You're able to have people, you know, post to the activity timeline. You can show groups and members, private messages. You know, we have, if you send someone a private message, they get a push notification. If someone publicly mentions you, you know, you get a push notification, things like that. Those are all existing integrations, and those are not changing. But it's just kind of the way that it's displayed in the app is kind of faster and better.
And to follow up on the WooCommerce, one of the questions is WooCommerce the only e-commerce, or can you use other e-commerce platforms?
It is possible to use other e-commerce platforms. We just don't have the full integration for like the way that the pages are going to look, and possible custom functionality that somebody has may not work properly. There are some limitations from Apple on what type of e-commerce you can do. For example, you cannot sell digital products that are consumed in the app, like an ebook or, you know, a MP3, because you have to use their in-app purchase API. So as long as you're aware of those limitations, we'd recommend using WooCommerce. But if you want to get really custom and kind of get your hands dirty, you can definitely integrate other plugins.
Excellent. All right, a couple of CSS questions. Can you add a faded image background in the menu using CSS? I guess is the tag there. And
yeah,
then,
definitely.
And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw one more at you, and you just get them both at the same time. And then another one had to do with what about Visual Composer?
Yeah, so as far as adding background images to the app and changing the way that the menu looks, you can definitely do any of that through custom CSS. Visual Composer, so that's just a way of building WordPress pages, it's my understanding. So that will work fine as long as you're using the plugin and it's not built into a theme. So the way that AppPresser works is it switches your theme for the app. So as long as the Visual Composer is in plugin form, it will still work and display your pages correctly. There may be some visual things that you need to tweak because since we are switching the theme, but that can be handled through a child theme or custom CSS or just some kind of visual tweaks.
Great. One of the questions is it better to start a completely new site like app.mysite.com, or is it best to be using my existing site?
Oh, I definitely use your existing site. That's the way that's what AppPresser is designed for. Unless you have just 100% custom content that you don't want to have anything to do with your website at all, then you could create a new site. But AppPresser is really made to integrate with your existing content, and you can just display the content that you want to display in the app. You don't have to display all of it.
One of the questions actually got asked a couple of times had to do with menus along the bottom, and I know that's something you can do. Do you want to show a quick demo of that?
Yeah, so I'll show you how to create a tab menu. In here, you just basically you just choose a tab menu, and then if I save that, you'll see that now my menu items show up across the bottom. And I can click on those and go back and forth and do those things. So the tab menu is really, really great.
That's been one of my favorite features to be testing out, and how easy it is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
On the static pages, can shortcodes be used?
No. So the static pages have nothing to do with WordPress unless you specifically design them to. So it's basically just a static HTML page. So no content from WordPress is going to come into those. If you want to use shortcodes from your WordPress site, then you would just use a WordPress page and design those there.
And sticking with the offline pages, several people were curious about JavaScript and how that would work in offline mode.
Yeah, so we're working on that. I am going to make a way for you guys to be able to use JavaScript with those custom pages. It is not integrated yet, but stay tuned for that.
Excellent. I should also mention that there are a lot of questions. I know I mentioned that before, but I mean there are a lot of them. So we're probably not going to get to all of them as we go through this. Some might get missed, but I will tell you that we will go through this, and we'll probably put together a blog post where we cover all of definitely the main questions and anything that we can that's specific, that makes a lot of sense. Can I use my own UI icons in this app?
So we're using Ion Icons, which is a very robust icon library. It has a lot of different icons in it. As of right now, there's not really a way to load in your own custom icons, but I think you'll be really happy with the ones that we have.
If a WordPress native video is an offline page, will the app download it to the user's mobile device or offline viewing?
It is possible to add videos for offline. You just want to be careful about the size of those videos because there are restrictions on the size of the app package you can have. So you can't just put like 50 videos and have your app package be, a gig, because they won't allow that in the app stores. So the best thing to do with video is just to display it like through your website. Unless there's like maybe 1 or 2 very short videos that you really need to work offline, then you can definitely do
that. Given more is in the device, it sounds like we'll need to release to the store more often. More rebuilds, ?
So that's not necessarily true because actually most of the content in the app is API driven. So Anytime you make a change here on my AppPresser, like for example, you add a menu item or you change the colors, that will actually show up in the live app in the app stores. Now, if you create a bunch of static offline pages or you make changes to those, then yes, you will need to rebuild. That's just if you want it to work offline, it has to be on the device, and therefore we have to rebuild if you change it. So, but any of the menu items, the WordPress pages, none of those, you don't need to rebuild to change any of those. So I'd say most of the time you don't need to. But there will be times, if you did not have push notifications and you added push notifications or something like that, you do need to rebuild. But I'd say for most small changes, you don't need to.
And does it still play well with Gravity Forms, which I already know the answer to that is yes, because I've been playing with it.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, our goal is to actually integrate with other plugins better than we did before, and I think that it's going to work great, especially with Gravity Forms.
Mm-hmm. And then a couple of different folks asked if you'd still be able to edit these zipped build files if you wanted to.
Yes. So that brings up another point that I didn't get to. Number one, yes, you can download your zip build files and edit them. They will be out of sync with the builder. That's the only thing. So you can't, if you rebuild, it's not going to have your changes in it. But the other thing is we're actually open sourcing all of the app build files, and you can find those at, let's see, github.com/AppPresser, and it should be AP3. So github.com/AppPresser/AP3. And that is actually all of the build files. So they're all going to be 100% open sourced. And these are basically ionic2 app files. There's instructions on how to use those. And so if you want to have full customization control, if you're a developer and you know how to write Angular 2 and TypeScript, then you can actually use those instead of using our builder. There are some caveats to that. You have to kind of do one or the other. You have to really know what you're doing to make this work. But it allows for full and total control. If you need to do something really, really custom, you have that option.
Does AppPresser 3 work like Reactor now? And the second question that was kind of related was, does this replace Reactor?
So we're not replacing Reactor. We still are supporting Reactor. Reactor actually has more features than AppPresser 3 for the actual Reactor side of things, but we are focusing on AppPresser 3 going forward. So we will be adding more new features and things to AppPresser 3.
So if I was building an app within the next 2 weeks, can I start developing with AppPresser 3? Which I think leads to another question which a whole bunch of people have asked is, when can I get my hands on this?
Yeah, so if you currently have an AppPresser license, then we will be sending out beta invites. We're gonna start slow and just kind of work the bugs out. And so I'm hoping within, the next few weeks, most people who want beta invites will have them. We just have to kind of make sure that we don't open the floodgates until we kind of know that, we've worked all the bugs out. But if you can wait, a month or so, then you can use AppPresser 3 for sure. We're planning on releasing it publicly probably mid-January, but you will be able to get in as a beta tester before that, and you will be able to build apps for the App Store. Everything is fully functional 100% now. We just kind of need to make sure that we work out all the bugs.
Actually, one more about Reactor, which is, can you speak to when you would choose to use AppPresser 3 versus Reactor?
So AppPresser 3 has all of our plugin integrations, such as like buddypress and WooCommerce, Gravity Forms, custom things like that. Reactor is more for if you need a lot of the API-driven lists and some of the features that we have over there. I would say if you're in doubt, go with AppPresser 3 because we're building lots of new features into it and it has lots of great WordPress integration.
And talking about the release timing, one of the questions was, are we going to have new documentation or are we going to be bumping up our support staff?
Yeah, so we do have new documentation for AppPresser 3. I can give you a link to that, although just know that this URL might change, but it's v3docs.apppresser.com. And this is documentation for AppPresser 3. So we're still kind of adding to that, but it does have quite a bit in there already. And just know that we may change this URL.
Not only will the URL possibly change, but it's also possible that like screenshots, as we kind of go through and just further refine all of the AppPresser 3 stuff, that screenshots and such might change around a little bit too.
Yep.
Is it possible to show normal blog posts cached as offline content?
Yeah, so using an API-driven list page, or we just call it a list page, if you put in your page type there, the URL to your endpoint, then that will actually be cached offline after you view it for the first time. And that's a great way to utilize the list pages. There are some limitations to them, like they're not going to show something like a gravity form in them. It's really just going to show the text content and images. So if you need more than that, like you need all your plugins to display and some custom things, then you're going to want to just use a normal WordPress page.
A couple questions about push notifications. One had to do with the quantity. Somebody, it was mentioned that it was free, but somebody was questioning whether it was free up to 1 million posts. And then another question related is geo-targeting for push notifications.
Yes, so we haven't actually decided on the limits for push notifications yet, but what we've found is that most people don't send that many push notifications. Like say you send, a couple pushes per week, which is a lot. That will definitely be free. It'll be, at least 50,000 pushes for free, which most people do not exceed. So we'll come out with that'll be in our pricing when we finally release it, but just know that most people will not be exceeding the free limit, but we will have higher tiers for people who have a ton of app subscribers and they send a ton of notifications. You will have to pay extra for that.
And then geo push,
yes.
push, and also, sorry, one other, can you schedule push notifications?
Yeah, so you can schedule notifications through your WordPress site. Or through any type of software that just hits our API when you want to send a push. And we don't have any geofencing or anything right now, but that's certainly something we can look into.
Will the apps I already have built show up in this dashboard?
No, anything that you've built previously with AppPresser, you do have to kind of build it again. You're going to have to update your plugins to the version 3 and the theme. And then you're going to have to add it into the dashboard and add your pages and do all that stuff again. So it is a completely new platform, so it will require, putting the app together again. One thing to note is that if you made any heavy customizations to the app theme or the Ion theme for your current app, those do not translate to AppPresser 3. Those will be lost. So going from AppPresser 2 to AppPresser 3, it's pretty easy if you don't have a lot of customizations to your theme. But if you do have a lot of heavy customizations, then those are not going to transfer over, so it may be more difficult.
And then can you speak to the amount of speed gained with AppPresser 3?
Yeah, so I've been meaning to do some side-by-side comparisons and just haven't had time for that yet, but it is significant speed increase. So essentially you can think of it like if you're loading up an HTML file that's sitting on your computer and you just load that into your browser, that's going to load super fast. And if you compare that to loading your WordPress site in your browser, there's a pretty big difference there. So you still have to load all the native stuff, which takes a bit of time. But when the actual app files itself start to load, it's much quicker. The pages load quicker, especially if you're building custom pages. So it's a huge increase. And also, if you've been working with AppPresser 2 or AppPresser 1, you know there's been some issues with the back button and things like that. The back button now works perfectly, exactly how you would expect it to work, and you know there's these nice page transitions and things. So I think you're going to be really happy with it.
Can you link to external websites, and does that external website need an SSL certificate?
Yes, you can link to an external website, and it will open in the in-app browser, and so it doesn't need an SSL certificate. Now, one note about SSL, the app preview is using SSL, and so if you try to load pages that are not HTTPS in the preview, then it will not show in the preview unless you take some extra steps. We have that in our documentation. Just a little caveat there. It doesn't affect the app at all. It's just the preview because the preview is SSL.
All right. Let's see. How big will the app package be without any offline material?
Without any custom images or offline material, the app package is, I think, it's less than 5 megabytes, which is really small. So the new way that we have of developing these apps is that we've gotten rid of a lot of stuff that was there before and are just loading really fast. So, but once you start adding custom images, and if you add, you know, lots of offline pages and things, it gets a little bit bigger, but in general, the app packages are much smaller than they used to be.
Doesn't Apple need to approve each change?
When you resubmit your app, Apple does review, and they do need to approve it, but as far as when you say each change, they don't look at, you know, a commit history and look at every single change that you did or anything like that. They just kind of look at the app overall and see if there's anything that's against the rules, and they approve or reject it. And over the past few years, we've never had an app that's been just outright rejected. They usually just say, you need to make a change here and there if you did something that's against the rules, but it's really not something you need to worry about in general.
Here's a good one. Can you connect to a non-WordPress endpoint, and can you use Angular 2 to build custom pages, sending data to that external endpoint?
So you can definitely write Ionic tags, which are kind of Angular 2 based. As far as pulling data in from a non-WordPress endpoint, you would have to be writing some custom JavaScript to be doing that. So I'm going to say right now it's probably not possible to do that, but that's certainly something we can look into in the future. And again, if you want to take our app files and edit those, you can do anything that you want.
All right, I'm just kind of sorting through here. There was a lot of duplications, so let's see. Did I already ask you about a pull to refresh? Several people were asking about a pull to refresh feature.
Yeah, so we have pull to refresh and infinite scroll on the post list pages. So any API list page has both of those features.
I think you just made a whole bunch of people happy right there.
Yeah, some pages such as like a buddypress activity feed or a WordPress page like that, they don't have those. buddypress already Ajaxes in the newest content anyway, so it doesn't need it. But yeah, the list pages have full refresh and infinite scroll. We also have a favoriting feature, and we'll be adding more features as well.
A couple of different people have asked, how does myAppPresser.com link to our existing WordPress site? Kind of like, how does myAppPresser know where my site is?
So that's in the menu pages. When you create a new menu page, like for example, I have a full URL to my WordPress site here, and that's how we know what page to pull in from WordPress. So The cool thing about this is if you have something like a WordPress multi-site and you want to use different URLs for different pages, that is now possible. It was not possible before. You could actually link to multiple separate WordPress sites. Not something I'd recommend because things might get weird, but technically it is possible.
And a couple of different people have talked about deep linking. Is deep linking possible in the app?
Yes, it is possible. So like sending a push notification, you can say what page you want to open when the person clicks on the notification, and that is a type of deep linking. Now, if you're talking about deep linking like from a URL on the web, that's something, I don't think that that's possible right now, but that's certainly something we'll look into.
Going back to push notifications a little bit, segmenting posts.
Yeah, so segmenting, which we have in AppPresser 2, is not quite ready yet for AppPresser 3. So it is possible to send notifications to specific devices, but segmenting right now is not available in AppPresser 3. That's something that we're working on.
How do iframes work in the app?
So this is a little bit more technical, but basically the way that AppPresser used to work is it was one big iframe of your WordPress website. And now the only thing that's an iframe is the actual content for WordPress. And I think maybe you're getting at a different question, but just quickly, like this is an iframe of your WordPress site, but like the header, the footer, the menu, all that stuff is not. Now, if you're talking about displaying specifically an iframe, that is possible. So like, let me show you an example. If I wanted to add like a Google map, so let me go like this, maps.google.com. What I can do is I can just put in like, let's say here, we'll show this, and I want to actually embed this. What I can do is grab Google's embed code, and which is where share. So embed map. So this is actually an iframe here. What I can do is copy that code. I can add a new page here, and I can just call it map and copy that in there, and that will actually display the iframe of that Google map in my site. So, or in my app, excuse me. So if you wanted to display any type of iframe, you could do that here. I hope that answers your question.
I think so. All right. Let's see. PDF viewer, has there been improvements on handling PDF viewing?
So iOS natively does a pretty good job of PDFs. Android does not. So what we recommended before is using the Google Viewer, which is just a special link that you append to the PDF, and that will display just fine in Android. So you'll be able to view PDFs in both iOS and Android.
All right. Does the menu support notification bubbles for the activity feed, messages, etc.?
No, it does not currently.
Okay. And will my clients still be able to manipulate their mobile app directly from their own website instead of from the centralized dashboard?
So actually, all of the customization of the app is now happening on myappresser.com. So if you change any WordPress content, it can still happen through their WordPress site. If you send push notifications, that can still happen. But if you want to do things like change the menu items and change the colors, that happens on myappresser.com. So what you can do is give your clients access to this site, and then they can make the edits here.
Is anything on static pages clickable if you include a button on it? The answer to that is absolutely yes.
Yes, definitely.
Right. And can you protect content with user authentication if you run a closed membership site?
Yeah, so your WordPress pages will be protected with your membership plugin, the same way that it would work, on the web or in AppPresser 2. The only thing you want to be aware of is that The membership plugin does not affect the shell of the app itself, such as the menu items and things like that here. So like you can't have someone log into WordPress and then display different menu items here. That is something that we may work on in the future. But basically, if you have a protected page and someone tries to access it through the app, it's going to require a login. And once they log in, then they can view that content. So in that sense, I think the membership side of an app, it can work very well.
Scott, I do know that we plan on, we're recording this and we do plan on publishing it. Somebody was mentioning that they were having some connectivity issues and it was freezing on them. Do you know when we plan on publishing this? Probably first thing next week, I'm thinking.
Yep. Yeah, we'll definitely post it next week along with probably some extra answers to questions and things that we didn't get to.
Yeah. Let's see. I need auto send push notification for categories. For example, if someone posts a new post on that front or back end in a specific category, that it will send auto notification push.
Right, so that sounds like segmenting to me.
Yeah.
And so segmenting is not available yet in AppPresser 3, but it's something we're working on.
Great. Keyboard copying and pasting. Somebody had a question about that. Are we using a new keyboard and touch framework, as I have tons of issues in AP2 with keyboard typing and pasting?
Yes, so that's actually an issue that we had for a while with AppPresser 2. It has since been fixed. So if you update all of your plugins and rebuild your app, that will be fixed in AppPresser 2. But AppPresser 3, that is completely fixed as well. We struggled with that issue for a while, but we did actually overcome it, and there should be no issues with that in AppPresser 3.
Excellent. We are getting to the end of our time here today, so I want to thank everybody for all of the questions. There's still a bunch that we're going to kind of get through. Like I said, we'll kind of put these together, and when we do post that the video from this webinar, we'll go through, and if there's any additional questions, I'll definitely answer those in that post as well. Scott, the last two questions that, and we've kind of touched on these a little bit before, but probably something really good to just kind of end with, which would be, when is this going to be available? When can people get their hands on it? And is this a paid upgrade? And there was also a question about a coupon code related to this webinar. So I think what we've got coming up in the next week or two might be a good spot for that. And with that, I would say that let's answer those and send them on their way.
Yeah, so this is AppPresser 3 is included with your AppPresser license. There's no extra charge for it. So if you already have an active license, you will get this for free or included as long as your license is active. If you are a new customer to AppPresser, you will get this, as soon as it's out of beta. As far as beta testing, we will be sending out invites starting next week. So you should get one hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and it will release publicly in probably mid-January. As far as coupons and things, we have your guys' emails, so we will send out an email about that. So just go ahead and check your email, and we will also be posting this video on our blog next week.
Excellent. Great job. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to send them in. Yeah, we look forward to getting this into your hands. We're very excited.
All right. Yeah, thanks, everybody.